Now, another player that got paid was Derek Carr. Now,
Fact.
Derek Carr had a couple teams he could choose from, three notably: the Jets, the Saints, and the Panthers. And he signed with the team that he visited before he got cut from the Raiders, which was the New Orleans Saints. I don't know about you guys. I'm not very high on this move. I'm not very high on it. I understand why he made it. And you look at Derek Carr, 4-year, $140 million contract. He's getting paid around $37 million a year. Derek Carr has a relationship with Dennis Allen. He met with the Saints before he had signed there, so he knew what the culture was around it. And just let's talk about the teams that he was picking between, the Panthers and Jets. As much as the Jets have made progress in these recent years, their roster is still extremely young. Their offensive line is a question mark. Robert Saleh's track record as a coach, and if he's going to be a great one, is still a question mark. And 2 good years from the Jets, and I would say really 1 good season, does not diminish what has been a decade-long reputation of what we've been. So Derek Carr choosing the Saints, I think, was also, from an organizational standpoint, I trust the Saints with Mickey Loomis more, somebody who's been magically able to work with Cap like a magician.
For sure.
Every single year. He trusts Mickey Loomis more. He trusts Dennis Allen, his old coach, more. And the Saints are a team that's ready to win now. You know, despite the Jets and, their record before they lost 6 in a row, the Saints are a team that they have veterans. They have a team that they want to win now, and that's why they keep prolonging these contracts, because they believe they can win. You look at the Panthers, I love their coaching staff, but they're just not complete yet. There's still holes on that roster that need to be fixed, and that's why I think he picked the Saints. And an interesting stat about the Saints is that since 1993, Saints have had 472 quarterback starts from quarterbacks not drafted by them. Looking at the Saints offense, Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, we'll see if he's back, Chris Olave. Their offensive line ranked 29th. They had a lot of injuries.
Oopsie.
The Raiders' offensive line ranked 10th. 9 different players played at least 100 snaps for the Saints last season at the offensive line. And only 2 had above-average PFF grades in Ryan Ramczyk and James Hurst. I think offensively this is a good fit with Pete Carmichael. I think Derek Carr he's great under center. Since 2019 under center, he's 5th in QBR. He's 2nd in completion percentage. He's tied 7th in passing touchdowns. And Carr has had the most touchdowns. He had the most touchdowns over 30 yards in 2022. He was 3rd in QBR under pressure. And since 2014, he has the most game-winning drives of any quarterback with 33. And he finally has a great defense. I know the Saints defense took a step back, but last 3 seasons, 2020, 5th-ranked defense, 2021, 4th-ranked defense, 2022, 9th-ranked defense. And in the second half, they were really elite. Derek Carr has a great organization. He has a good offensive supporting cast. He has an elite defense. I think this team will win games. Where I don't like it is that I saw the Saints last season start Jameis Winston, and very quickly it was apparent Jameis Winston was not good. Sean Payne hit a lot of things in Jameis Winston's game that were fatal flaws, and you saw that. Andy Dalton was not bad last season. He had 18 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, had a 95 passer rating. And in terms of what Derek Carr brings and what Andy Dalton brings, Derek Carr in 2022 had 24 play attempts plus scrambles on broken plays. Andy Dalton had 25. So in terms of them as quarterbacks and able to create out of structure, they are similar. So the difference is going to be how much can Derek Carr offer that's much better than Andy Dalton in the pocket. This past season, Derek Carr was 13th in EPA per play. Andy Dalton was 20th. So while I do think Derek Carr is better than Andy Dalton did play well last year. And for this move to have a huge impact on the Saints, Derek Carr is going to outplay him by a wide margin, and that's still to be determined. I think the difference between Dalton and Carr is that Andy Dalton, under intense moments and pressure, he crumbles. He doesn't play well. Derek Carr in those moments thrives. So I think that can be the difference in the fourth quarter. When Derek Carr needs to make a play, he'll make those plays. But I don't know where this puts the Saints. It puts them as a potential playoff team, but I don't view them as a legit or true contender, and I'm still very skeptical on Dennis Allen as a head coach.
This is a really weird move where he reunites with Allen, who was fired in the middle of his rookie season.
for the Saints, this does raise their ceiling after winning 7 games last year. But my question is, why are the Saints so stubborn to winning now? You had the 30th overall pick that you got from the 49ers. Since Sean Payton retired, I felt like this team should have rebuilt and took a step back and then draft a younger quarterback, where it feels like now they're kind of taking a page out of the Colts playbook, maybe, of Frank Reich, or going with all these veteran quarterbacks. Last year, you tried Jameis, you took a shot in the dark, it didn't pan out. He had some injuries too, I get that. But with Derek Carr, you know what the ceiling is. You've talked about him, great point. In the regular season, he can make some big-time throws, but in the playoffs, Derek Carr's not bringing you anywhere. And what I think of is that game versus the Bengals where they blow a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter and with the season on the line, he's throwing short of the sticks. That's what I think of when I think of Derek Carr in the biggest of games. So for the Saints, in this division, you're in prime position to get a win next year because you don't know who's going to be under center for the Buccaneers and the Panthers as well as some issues. But I really wonder if the Saints team actually has a direction, because the more I look at them with all their cap stuff, talked about Mickey Loomis has done, this organization is so stubborn in being respectable that they've kind of gotten to a point where it's like you're tying yourself to a hip of a team that's not going to win a playoff game in the next 5 years. And so I like this move for Derek Carr. He gets stability, and I think another reason why I chose the Saints is because he feels like they won't draft the quarterback to then, usurp him, the way the Panthers may have with a higher draft pick. But ultimately, for New Orleans, this is a really weird move. I put you in prime position to win the division, but where is this leading you? Let me ask you this question. Over under 2.5 playoff wins next 5 years for the Saints. No, I'm not going to make that.
Under.
5 years, so much could change.
A lot can change exactly in the NFL. 5 years ago, Tyrod Taylor is the Bills quarterback.
Is his defense going to get any better than it already is right now?
No, not really.
Is Michael Thomas going to be healthy consistently? You don't know that. Is his offensive line going to get better? I mean, it can't be any worse. That's the hope, that it gets better.
Mm-hmm. Trevor Penning will be healthy next year.
What are you going to do at the running back position?
Yeah, their defense is great, but it's getting older. And I think that's a problem. Their entire defensive line is old outside of Marcus Davenport. Cameron Jordan, David Onyemata, they're older. Demario Davis is older. Everybody's kind of reaching past their best years.
This past season, defensively, especially in the pass defense, where they were second ranked right behind Philadelphia, they were phenomenal. 9th ranked in terms of fewest points allowed per game. The defense was great. That was the one thing that carried over from the season prior. The issue and why I'm not all in on this move, similar to what you said, John, because you spoke a lot of truth there. This does put them in prime position to win the division. They should, as of right now, be the favorites to win the division. And that's the one thing that the Saints did by locking in this move. Hey, now we get to be relevant come playoff time. You make the playoffs, anything can happen. We can host a playoff game. We're one of the best environments to play at home also. No one's going to want to come into the Superdome. I'm blanking. Of course, you just don't want to go into New Orleans and play an away game. That's that simple. The issue here, the Superdome. Okay,
Caesars.
good. I'm happy.
Caesars.
The one thing that concerns me is Michael Thomas's health, because I understand Michael Thomas. You guys are demons. I understand Michael Thomas's talent. Absolutely, I'm one of those guys that has been a strong advocate of his. He's on the field. He's dominant. We saw that this year. When he was on the field, he was really good. He just can't stay on it. And it's super unfortunate that with Olave and Michael Thomas, this is a duo that you have to talk about if they're on the field. And then, of course, with the legal situation going on with Alvin Kamara, we also don't know what's going on there and with Alvin and whether he's going to be playing football or not this season, or how long that suspension is going to be, if there's going to be a suspension at all. That's just such a huge question mark that there's nothing that's for certain with this New Orleans offense. You'll know that Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback. The hope is that Olave, Michael Thomas will be there. The hope is that Alvin Kamara will be there. But these are all hopes. You don't know what is for certain other than the fact that Derek Carr will be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. So I do like it where, yes, now you've probably given yourself a lock chance at winning their division and going to the playoffs, hosting a playoff game. But in the long term, how's this really going to benefit us when we're not going to have prime draft capital to really rebuild this roster? And with that, I 100% agree with John. I hate a team that's caught in limbo, where you're not going all in on being bad, but you're not trying to go all in on trying to win a Super Bowl. Where, yes, the Saints have tried their hardest to win a Super Bowl, but at this point in time, it should be understood that those days are behind them. You no longer have the Sean Payton head coach, one of the best head coaches in the league, offensive mastermind. You no longer have the Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. Yes, the defense is great. The secondary is great. But there's nothing consistent about this team on the offensive side of the ball that allows me to have optimism about the Saints long term.
So the Saints have 7 picks in this upcoming draft. And the
First pick's
first
not
round
till
pick
30,
they
right?
got for Sean Payne is a 29th pick in the draft. So not a high-end first-round pick. I will say, if the Saints can draft well,
Which they do.
then, yeah, which they do, then this could change the outlook of things.
For sure.
It does. It definitely, like John said, it moves me, right? It changes the ceiling for you because you go from Andy Dalton to Derek Carr, a substantial upgrade. There's no discrediting that. In the NFC, Derek Carr is, I mean, he's in that tier with Stafford and Cousins, right? You have Jalen Hurts. And then after that, it's like Stafford, Dak, Cousins, Carr, right? So in any given year, he could really be the second best quarterback in his conference, assuming Aaron Rodgers gets traded, right? So I understand the move in that sense. If you look at a team like the Jets that he was linked to, you go there and at minimum you're second in your division. You're probably ninth in the conference. So he's going to go to the NFC where he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks. I understand that. I know a lot of discussion is he has familiarity with Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen coached him for 4 games his rookie year when 0-4 and got fired. So listen, maybe they talk offseason, maybe they do workouts together. I don't know. But in terms of having a successful on-the-field relationship, very small sample size, I don't know if that was the driving force, getting Derek Carr to the Saints. And then you look at the offensive weapons. Of course, Michael Thomas, Kamara, who Mike has suspended, Olave was great his rookie year. But then look at what he had in Vegas, and this past season was probably better than that, right? He had
Easily.
one of the best receiver in football, if not top 2. He had Josh Jacobs, who was the best running back in football this past season. Waller and Renfro were hurt, but we saw even the season before that, they're both very valuable weapons to a team. So I don't even think realistically he's getting an upgrade on the offense side of the ball, especially when you take into account Michael Thomas' injury history and Alvin Kamara most likely getting suspended. Although we did say that last season he didn't end up getting suspended. And then as you guys mentioned, they don't have a pick till pick 29, currently $24 million over the cap. They'll be able to make room. They'll make cuts, restructure to get under. But overall, they're still going to be limited in terms of being able to improve this team. And I know over the years, their defense has always been one of the better ones, especially the last 3 years. I think you mentioned last year they were ranked 9th. Yep. But I do have a hard time believing this is a true Super Bowl caliber team. This division right now is a mess. We don't know who's going to be playing quarterback for any of these teams outside of the Saints right now. So you have to say they're the favorite at the minimum to win the division. But when you look past that, it's still hard for me to say they could get past the Cowboys, they get past the Eagles, the 49ers, the Lions, depending on the moves they make, the Seahawks, who can make another step. Like, I still look at a lot of teams. The Lions and Seahawks are in their tier. Without a doubt, they're in their tier.
I think they could beat Dallas, too.
Maybe. You still they can win. They go to the Super Bowl last year. Now they can't beat the Saints.
But the Saints' defense is elite, bro.
It is, but you really do have to rely on that defense.
And the Cowboys don't have anybody to really worry about offensively. They don't have multiple guys that you got to worry about.
CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, they're probably bringing someone else.
Also, it's a strong possibility. They're in. I mean, not say strong. They're in the conversation.
I'm gonna be honest. In the NFL right now, when you have 2 guys that you got to worry about, that's not enough.
I mean, the Saints are kind of the same boat.
I mean, what team has more than 2 guys that you have to worry about?
All the contenders do.
Not really.
I do think so, yeah.
The only 2. I'm the only one I can think of.
The Bengals,
Eagles,
the Dolphins.
The Dolphins.
I'm sorry, we're just talking just NFC.
I'm sorry. I'm just talking in general, really.
The Bengals, yes.
Bengals,
Okay.
Dolphins.
49ers.
But do they have more than 2?
Who?
The Bengals?
T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, for sure.
Boyd is the best 3 in the league.
Okay.
And then they have an elite quarterback.